I'm looking at Matthew chapter 4. In Matthew chapter 4, Jesus heard that John had been taken into custody. And some things happened to fulfill what was spoken through Isaiah the prophet. And here is what it says. The land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea, beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people who were sitting in darkness saw a great light, and those who were sitting in the land and shadow of death, upon them a light dawned. From that time, Jesus began to preach and say, Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And Jesus was walking by the Sea of Galilee, and he saw two brothers, Simon, who was called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And immediately they left their nets and followed him. Going on from there, he saw two others, and James and John. They were in the boat with Zebedee their father, and he called to them. And immediately they left the boat and their father, and they followed him. Folks, you're not going to be able to hear Jesus speak to you today and say, Come, follow me. Those days have long been gone. But there was a day that happened. And Jesus went throughout all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom. And he was healing every kind of disease and every kind of sickness among the people. And news about him spread throughout all Syria. And they brought to him all who were ill, those suffering with various diseases and pains, demoniacs, and epileptics, and paralytics, and he healed them. Large crowds followed him from Galilee, and from somewhere in Jerusalem and Judea, and from beyond the Jordan. And Jesus saw the crowds, and he went up on the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. And that's when Jesus opened his mouth and began to teach them, saying, folks, if you will read in the book of Matthew, you will see the words that I have just read to you. And Jesus starts teaching. Nowhere in the next chapters, in chapters 5, 6, and 7. You know, it's amazing that chapter 5, 6, and 7 comes after chapter 4. It's not that amazing. Not if you can count to 10. And most people evidently have forgotten how to count. They begin with 1 to get to 10. You have to have, some more words like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And Jesus goes to speaking to these people, and he says certain things. And he comes up with the words, you are the salt of the earth. That's what Jesus said. He has just started to teach these people. And he tells them, you are the salt of the earth. But if the salt has become tasteless, how can it be made salty? It's not good for anything except to be thrown out, trampled underfoot by men. And Jesus says, you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. And he says, you don't light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. And Jesus said, let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. Folks, your Father who is in heaven here has become the subject. You are to do something. Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. And Jesus tells them, I did not come to abolish the law or the prophets. I came to fulfill. And I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter or stroke shall pass from the law until all is accomplished. Whoever annuls one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. Now, the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven. People can be called and they can be least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever keeps and teaches them, he should be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say to you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. This kingdom that we're in now is of heaven, but it's not going to be the final kingdom of heaven. This is the one we're in now. There will be one after this, because this one is going to be destroyed at some point. But Jesus is teaching the people. You have heard that the ancients were told, you shall not commit murder, and whoever commits murder shall be liable to the court. But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother shall be guilty before the court. And whoever says to his brother, you are good for nothing, shall be guilty before the Supreme Court. And the people that say, you fool, shall be guilty enough to go into fiery hell. Therefore, if you are presenting your offering at the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you, you're not supposed to do something. You go first and be reconciled to your brother, and then come and present your offering. Make friends quickly with your opponent. Truly I say to you, you will not come out of there if you get thrown into prison till you have paid the last cent. This is all Jesus is teaching, folks. He's telling people what they should do. You should not commit adultery. You should not look upon a woman and lust for her in your heart, because if you do, you have already committed adultery. And I don't think some people are even coming close to not committing adultery in this day. Yep, that's what I think today.